Welcome to DCS Pathways. I'm Kevin Patton, Pathways Counselor for Dublin City Schools. Choosing courses and planning for life after high school can feel overwhelming. The ideas and resources shared here are intended to help students and families with this important process. This episode features a conversation with Nick Potts. Nick graduated from Dublin City Schools in 2017. He then went on to earn a computer science degree from Kent State University. He's now working for Booz Allen Hamilton as a staff engineer, focusing on low-code, no-code technology solutions for their clients. Nick, thanks so much for joining me today. I know you're calling in from Pittsburgh, which isn't far from where you went to college, and it's really great to reunite with you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about some of these topics here and get the conversation.
Awesome. Well, I am very excited for this conversation. I remember you extremely well from high school because of how well you explored your interests and curiosities during that time. So I'm so excited to learn more about where that's led you and for our students to hear about how some of those early explorations can really lead to a fulfilling career later on. Even if it's something a little bit different than what you thought you'd be doing, it's still right where you need to be right now, which is so cool. So I'm excited to dig into that. So the first place I want to start really is where you are in Pittsburgh, right? So you're working for Booz Allen Hamilton, which is likely one of the coolest companies our kids have never heard of. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what your organization does and specifically maybe some of the highlights of your role.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started here at Booz Allen just about a month ago. And I think you explained it really well. It is a really cool organization that at a younger age, most kids probably have never heard of. But Booz Allen is a consulting firm for the federal government and federal agencies. So they'll work with the CDC, FBI, pretty much any acronym you can think of that is a federal organization. They are working with them in some way, shape, or form. And, specifically right now with AI being the hot topic, they are kind of at this forefront of helping those organizations implement AI, specifically around data. So what I do within the organization, right now I'm still kind of being onboarded into the role because it's very new for me. But what I believe I'll be doing is working with Microsoft tools known as the Power Platform. So I kind of like to think of that in a high school way of you have high schoolers. I think we feel some of the work we're given is what we call busy work. And that doesn't really end when you leave school, right? There's always work that has to be done that maybe you don't want to do. So where I come in is to work with clients to figure out, what are some of the pain points that they have in their day-to-day life, and maybe how can we get rid of it or at least lessen that pain and take down the steps it takes to complete a task. So I do a lot of maybe application development to help with a process that businesses might go through, or automating reports. So if they use maybe an Excel spreadsheet and there's 1,000 of those versions floating around, we can make that easier, put it in one place and automate that report generation.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times someone like you gets to be the hero when you come up with solutions that essentially take away the least favorite part of anyone's job and you automate it and let them spend their time and energy on things that are much more energizing and fulfilling. So I love that you get to be that person to go in there and deliver those great opportunities and platforms and applications and things for making people's jobs better and more enjoyable. So that's really great. And obviously increasing the efficiency for the company and helping them save in a lot of ways on their bottom line when it takes out hours that go into those tasks that can easily be automated with technology. So I think that's a really neat thing that you get to do. Any really neat projects or something that you think would be obviously they work with all these different government organizations. What's a really neat project? I think I saw a really neat one online recently that you posted about that Booz Hamilton has been involved in. Obviously, we won't get into the specifics of it, but something that's really neat that they're doing to change the world, right?
Yeah. The first project that comes to mind is they have a really well-known project. It's not, I know you'd asked for a recent one, but I think one that is probably one of their biggest is they worked with NASA when we were sending, spaceships up to the moon. They helped NASA develop the software or the hardware to be able to accomplish that. So you go to their website, that's one of the first projects that they promote.
That's
That's very
amazing.
nice.
Yeah, and then they're continuing to work with NASA, right? It looks like they're trying to
Hmm.
create some technology and some generative AI opportunities for our astronauts because it's so difficult to have power and things like that. Obviously, when you're in outer space, so they're finding ways to improve that technology for those people. It will obviously keep them safer and to help them be more efficient when they're on those missions.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They are bringing AI capabilities kind of up into space, which is, I know that sounds weird, but it's pretty groundbreaking, and they're the kind of one of the first to say, hey, we've done this, and we're actively doing it, and we're trying to make life better on Earth and up in space, which sounds futuristic.
Yeah, but it's exciting, right? I think if you are someone that
Hmm.
is interested in technology and really trying to stay on top of all of the amazing things that are happening with generative AI, that's a pretty cool project to hear about. So I want to go back in time a little bit to when you were a high school student, because obviously generative AI wasn't a topic were talking about, and a lot of the things that you're doing now in the world of computer science engineering is focused on that. But let's go back to, when did you start recognizing technology was an interest for you? And what were some of the things you did in high school that really allowed you to explore that curiosity?
A great question. So for your first one of when did I realize that technology was an interest to me, probably about when I first learned to walk. You know, growing up in the Columbus area, if students haven't been, I would highly recommend going to take a trip to COSI. Over the summer, my mom would take me there, and they have really great exhibits for technology and just kind of science in general. So I think my first memory is being able to take apart a computer at COSI and just wondering, how do all these wires and this green board, how does it display this screen with information and I can interact with it? And from there it was got into Apple and wanted to be an iOS developer. So that's kind of when I first knew technology is where I have a passion for. And then your second question was about high school. What did I use in high school to kind of help or pursue that path? And there are two kind of core moments I can think of. One is taking the intro to programming, which I believe was JavaScript, and then the IT Academy. I believe I was the first class in the IT Academy. So when
You
that was
were.
an option,
You were the first student in my office asking about it. And I remember that. I remember you being like, I heard this is happening. How do I sign up?
yeah, I was super excited. So yeah, I jumped on that IT Academy right away, and being part of that helped me in high school because half of my day was tailored to a subject that I knew like this might become my college major. And then it helped me after high school because I got introduced to college level courses as I think it was a junior and senior year in high school.
Absolutely. Yeah, they embedded some of those Columbus State courses that were related to IT. And since then, obviously, you probably went through some of the growing pains of being in that first cohort, and there was a lot of things to be ironed out, but we've continued to offer that program and make improvements to it. We've also added a program in cybersecurity, so we have some really neat opportunities for students who are interested and want to pursue these types of opportunities beyond high school to really dig in, to your point, for a huge portion of their school day. And then if it turns out to be a great fit, then obviously they enjoy it more. They enjoy school more. And then they also have all this great experience to pull from when they move on to those next opportunities beyond high school. So I love that you had those opportunities, and obviously they had such an impact on what you ended up doing beyond high school. So it led you to Kent State University. I know you majored in computer science, but I want to go back to, how did you land on Kent State? And I remember very vividly it being a difficult decision because of some other opportunities that were on the table at that time. So I'd like for you to share, what that process was like and how you ended up landing at Kent State.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked about this because this is a topic I definitely wanted to touch on, as I feel my situation is not unique and that there are other students maybe currently going through it or students that will go through it. So I'll kind of start a little back. I applied to, gosh, I don't know, 8 colleges, 10, something crazy like that. Got denied from a few that were outreach. They were my up there. Let me
Those
just
reach
try it.
colleges, right?
Those
Yeah, the
reach
reach schools.
colleges.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
You can always shoot your
Um,
shot, man.
Right, it doesn't hurt. But so ultimately, it came down to Loyola University in Chicago, which is right in the heart of Chicago. It came down to Kent State, who also offered me a really good scholarship. And then the biggest kind of hurdle here was then I also got accepted into OSU main campus. And OSU is where my mom and dad went. It's obviously, 20, 25 minutes from Dublin. It's where a lot of Dublin students go. And so I feel like I felt this pressure that I should go here. Like I got into the main campus. My parents went there. They're huge OSU fans watching football. Some of my friends are going. But what was hard for me is that I had been to the campus, I don't know, dozens of times, right? Because it's right downtown, not far away from Dublin. And I just never really liked it. Anytime I stepped foot on there, it just didn't feel like a place that I saw myself being at. So after I got into Kent State, I went to tour the campus, and I remember, and I know my mom remembers it as well. We are driving up there. There's construction right around the university, so we're late to the tour. It's pouring down rain. We finally get into the parking lot, through the construction, through the rain. And before we even step out of the car, I look at my mom and I was like, I love this campus. Like, I love it here already. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She's stressed out. We're late. So we go tour it. And I loved the campus. I thought it was a beautiful little kind of college town separated from a city. Kent is not a big city at all. And so I really had this internal debate of OSU or Kent State. And I ultimately at first picked OSU because I thought, how could I not? And I think it was about 2 weeks later, I went to my parents and I said, I can't do it. I don't want to. I want to go to Kent State. So ultimately, I picked Kent State. And to me, that was, looking back at it now, that was the best decision I could have made for myself. As I mentioned earlier, kind of with air quotes, it's not as good as OSU, but I think when you're looking for a college, good is a relative term, right? What you put into your college experience is what you get out. And even though I didn't go to OSU, currently in a position where I feel, I'm working at what I consider a very prestigious consulting firm. And I think that goes to show that you don't have to go to the best school to have a great experience and these great opportunities after college. That as long as you put in that work wherever you're at, the opportunities will come. And as well as you have to make those opportunities available to you by putting in the work, by going somewhere that's comfortable to you, because when you're comfortable, you're going to do well and you're going to succeed. Now, that's not saying to not go out of your comfort zone, right? This was also a bit out of my comfort zone because I was 2 hours away from home. I didn't know anybody. I think from Kaufman, it was maybe me and two other people that went to Kent State. So I know that was a long story there, but I feel that the message there is that as a high schooler, there's a lot of pressure that you're under, especially junior, senior year, with family members asking you, where are you going to college? What are you going to major in? And it can be a lot. And so what I want students to know is that they should go wherever feels like home and whatever feels comfortable to them, where they can see themselves being there every day, because you're going to be sleeping there, you're going to be eating there, making friends there, and it's okay to do what you feel is right, even if everybody else around you is maybe pushing you to do something else.
I just love that you're sharing this example, because I have this conversation so often with students, and sometimes they make the choice that you made, where you really follow your intuition, you really follow what feels like is going to be the right fit for you. and you almost did, right? You almost allowed that what do you mean you can't turn down Ohio State? It's Ohio State. It's one of the best schools in the country. They have an amazing computer science program. My parents went there. Everybody that asks, if you tell them OSU, they get excited for you. If you tell them Kent State, they think, why? It's like, did you not? People don't get it. Kent State's an amazing school. I had some great friends that went to Kent State. And really, to your point, it's all because of what they did while they were there and the experiences that they took advantage of and the people that they met, and then all of the things that they did to not just be a strong classroom student, but developed internship experience, developed relationships with professors, and helped network all of these things that now, to your point, you're working for this highly prestigious firm, which that's the ultimate goal. College is 4 years, maybe a little longer if you're really dragging your feet, right? And then you can continue to graduate school if that's part of your plan, but it's such a blip on the radar. And I think the ultimate goal is to end up somewhere where you're fulfilled and you feel like you're making a difference and adding value, and you feel really happy about where you're going to work. And I just think I remember so vividly the conversations with you about you agonizing over that decision. And I remember just really, I never tell a student what to do, but I really encourage you to really listen to yourself and to recognize you're telling me you went somewhere that felt like, I remember that the exact word you used was, when I was on that campus at Kent State, it felt like home. When I went to OSU, just didn't have that connection. I didn't feel the same way. And I'm so glad that you listened to yourself and that you didn't let other people talk you out of what turned into the best decision for you. And then it turned into an amazing college experience. It led to all of these opportunities that you couldn't have dreamed of or even had access to had you gone somewhere else. You did what I would love for more of our students to do and really just go where you feel at home. And for some people, that is OSU, and that's awesome. OSU is amazing for so many reasons, but you didn't allow yourself to be tricked into forcing something that wasn't right. So I'm so glad that we get to share this on this platform.
Yeah, me too. And I think you brought up a good point where college is just 4 years, right? It's not where you go. It doesn't decide the rest of your life, But I know in high school it can feel that way with all the pressure. So I'm more than happy to share that experience here, and hopefully that it helps even just one student make their decision or follow their.
Absolutely. Any one or two experiences as a college student that you really want to highlight? Something that, whether it was a mentor you met or an internship or something you did while you were a student that you felt like was extremely influential in landing you where you are today?
So yeah, one opportunity that I had in college, we've been talking a lot about technology and IT, but I think there's this other side that we haven't really touched on, which is especially for me in consulting. And I think a lot of people, when they go into IT, they think I just need to interact with a computer and this computer language, and I don't really have to talk to people. But in consulting, you have to talk to people all day, every day, and you need to build up those kind of soft skills of communication. And I felt in high school I might have been a little bit more shy back then. Maybe I wasn't as open to talking to someone I didn't know. But in college, I joined a social organization, and throughout the years, I made my way to become president of that organization. And that involved me having to talk to tons of people, staff, college students, adults that were our kind of advisors. And I think that has really helped me kind of open up and not be as afraid to meet new people, to kind of just be myself. And it helped me realize, like, I wish I had known that in high school, that you can be yourself and your true friends will stay with you no matter what, however you perceive yourself. So I think that was one that was really influential to where I am today, where if I was still as shy as I was in high school, I don't think I would be quite as good off right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you developed a skill that you knew you needed to work on that wasn't necessarily related to specifically, but it was extremely related to being an employee that people want to hire. I think if you have tech skills and you're a strong communicator and you're good at relating to other people, obviously it's going to only enhance your opportunity. So I think that's a really great thing that you bring up, and I like that it's unrelated to necessarily the degree you were studying while you were there. So I think that's really cool. So something else I wanted to get your thoughts on, as I'm in this role, and my job is really to help students see things through a different lens when they're planning for life after high school. College is still going to be the number one choice for most of our students, and that's great. I think my goal is I want to make sure they're selecting schools for the right reason. They're being more thoughtful about why they're creating the schools that are on their list, looking for places that are going to give them that experience that we all know is really what leads you to those future job opportunities. But I also, as someone in the tech industry, would like you to speak to what are some of the alternative routes that students have options to explore now to still have very successful careers in that industry that maybe are not necessarily that traditional 4-year degree?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question that you bring up where, especially at that time, it's all college, college, college. But for some students, that may not be what they feel is, the best route for them. Sometimes it's just education and sitting down in classes may not be who they are and what they want to do for 4 years. So definitely with technology and today's day and age, there are a lot of opportunities outside of the typical 4-year degree that students can take. There are coding boot camps that are offered online, which may be 12 weeks, 16 weeks, what have you. And there's also YouTube. I know that may sound kind of funny. YouTube honestly helped get me through college, right? I learned just as much from that as I learned from classes, maybe even more. Because we are in a world where technology is all around us, anyone can start sharing what they know. And you'll find that there are a lot of courses in the sense on YouTube that you can watch to learn a language, whether that's Python, JavaScript, web development, right? With our easy access to technology, I think anyone can pick up a computer and start learning whatever they want. In high school, I remember I thought I wanted to be an iOS developer. So I had a Apple laptop and I downloaded the free software to start developing and just started doing it. And, I think that is another route that people can go where you do have to have that willpower and that initiative to pick it up and start doing it. But that is a great opportunity outside of college where a lot of jobs may not care as much, especially with technology. You'll see in the job description, it'll say 4-year bachelor's degree or equivalent experience, right? They're not, I think we're moving away from that. You got to have a bachelor's degree into this. Well, what's your experience? Do you have a project that relates to maybe this job role that you can show us? And you can land, jobs that way.
Absolutely. And you think about someone who spends 4 years in college, hopefully had some internship experience, hopefully worked on some projects that were related to what they might see in the real world. But now all of a sudden you have somebody who, to your point, was on YouTube in high school, learning and developing skills that they knew were on the horizon. And then all of a sudden they fall into a training program with an employer right after high school and really dig in, are paid to learn, are getting certifications, are getting all this experience. At the end of 4 years, that, and compared to somebody with a degree that's just scratched the surface on that type of experience, it's really not a competition any longer. So I think, again, if you want that traditional college experience, and many students do, go for it. But just make sure you're also remembering that you're there to prepare for life beyond that. But if you don't care so much about that and you're ready to start just getting ready for making money and not spending so much money on investing in an education that you realize a lot of it's not even going to apply to what I'm interested in, right? If you have that much understanding of the direction you're trying to go, then by all means, just know that there are other options out there. So I'm glad that you bring that up and that you share some specific ways that students could start at any point beyond, before they graduate, certainly to just dig into the things that they're curious about. So there's endless resources out there now, and so many generous people that have shared how, their knowledge and their training programs. And sometimes you can pay for it, but many times you can do it for free. So you just got to know what you want to learn about, and then do some quick Google searches and YouTube searches, and you'd be amazed. So I love that, man. Well, I am learning so much from these conversations. There's so many neat things, even just about the organizations that students are working for. I'm so amazed by all of the things that our graduates are doing. I love that you've found a home at this new organization that seems to be such a cool place to work, and where you get to add so much value to the clients that they consult with. So before we log off here, I would love for you to just share any last final words of wisdom, or something you wish you had been told back when you were kind of going through those formative years and making all those big decisions about what you wanted to do after high school.
Yeah. I think I have about two different answers for this. One is a bit more personal, one is kind of family. So if I were to kind of travel back in time and give myself, my high school self advice, I think a personal advice I'd give myself is that don't stop. If you found something you love and you enjoy it, it doesn't necessarily matter what certain people around you think. You're not going to be able to please everyone. What you make isn't going to be something that everyone loves, but if you enjoy it and you stick with it, and you take those self-training courses that we were talking about, eventually the money will come in, or you can find a way to monetize your skill in such a way that can become your career. You can become a self-employed business owner or LLC. So that would be my kind of personal advice is, take it. If you have a passion, follow it and stick with it, because amazing things can come. I went to college with someone who had a blog, and now she is traveling the world because of that blog. So there's always opportunities out there. And then kind of a more family side of advice, cherish and spend that time that you have with your parents. If they ask you to sit down and watch a movie, watch that movie with them, because if you're going to that traditional route of 4-year college, and then beyond, you get a job, you move out, you're not with them as much. So I would say that, just enjoy that time that you have with them. If you are fortunate enough to be in a family where they are making time for you, make time for them. You're going to look back on all those memories and just really love it, and it's going to help define you.
I think those are amazing things to end on. I know any parents who tune in will love that message and hope that their kids hear it. But this has been awesome, Nick. I am so impressed by you and what you've accomplished for yourself, and how true to yourself that you've remained, and you deserve all the opportunities that have come your way. So thank you for being a part of this program, and I can't wait to get messages out there for our students to hear.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful, sharing these stories and catching up with you again after all these years.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, and I hope to connect again in the future.
Thank you.
All right. See you, Nick.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions about the many resources we have in Dublin City Schools related to exploring post-secondary options. My email address is patton_kevin@dublinschools.net. I also want to give special thanks to student intern Cam Williams from the DCS Media Marketing Academy. Cam designed the cover art for the show and will be sharing regular updates via social media. Be sure to follow Cam's posts at DCS Pathways Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Hope to see you next week.